Tap, tap, tap. I think I'm on. Hey, Jesse, can you see me over on the stream there?
I can. How's it going?
Going well, going well. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining. I'm going to let some people kind of filter in here as we're going, but in the meantime, we could probably just do a little chit chat. Where are you located, by the way?
Yeah. I am in southern Germany.
Okay.
Like I can see Switzerland from my house. Southern.
Okay.
So that's getting pretty far south.
Yeah. Sounds like it. You don't sound like a German though.
No, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear that earlier today that I must be really far south to have this accent. But I'm originally from north of Seattle.
Okay.
So Pacific Northwesterner, and
So am I. Well, I'm not north of Seattle. I'm south of Seattle, but I'm down in Vancouver, Washington. But a fellow Washingtonian.
fellow Washingtonian. So a lot of Marysville pride represented right here.
Okay, Marysville. Yeah. Yeah, my dad grew up in that area.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more Linwood, I think. It was kind of the area that he was, Linwood. And I think they were in Ballard for a while and stuff like that. But, yeah.
For those that don't know the area, you start in Seattle, you drive north, you see a giant outlet mall on the left-hand side.
Yep.
And you're there.
Yeah.
You've arrived.
Yep. Exactly. Let's see here. I'm going to tweet out that we are doing this. So give me just a second here. We have a couple people chatting. Derek says, hi, Jesse and Jamin. Mazen says, hey, hey.
Hey, back.
Let's see here. Your Motley Dev.
Motley Dev, yes.
Tell me the story behind that.
It was available. No, I thought, whole play on Motley Crue would be kind of fun. And then it just, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not apparently quite as rock star as the Motley Crue.
The Motley Crue, yeah.
Not quite as destructive either. I guess they still hold the record for a number of hotels for having done the most amount of damage.
Oh, wow.
But it stuck with me, so here we are.
Awesome. Okay, so let's drop the Twitch. Let's see here. rn.live.
Notification to retweet.
YouTube will be youtube.infinite.red. And
you got the vanity URL and everything.
I know. I love it. Actually, what I want to do with rn.live is turn that into a landing page so I don't have to link to both, so that it will take them to a landing page and tell them about the program and maybe show the schedule and things like that, and then say, if you like Twitch, go this direction. If you like YouTube, go this direction. If you like Facebook, well, we do stream there, but you'd have to be a friend of mine, and, good luck with that. So we are streaming on Facebook, so my mom can see this.
Well, hi, Jamin's mom.
I don't think she's watching, but, you never know.
You do never know. I used to get regular LinkedIn likes from my grandma on things that I would post.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the best. That's the best.
Between bots and grandparents, that accounts for probably half of my followers.
I used to be kind of a Facebook power user back in 2014 or something, in that range. And I was just constantly posting, and I had a lot of people following and different things like that. And then I realized what a useless endeavor that was. And I really don't anymore. I go on there once in a while. I might post. I look at notifications 3 days later. Someone asked a question. I missed it, stuff like that. But yeah. Gant says, before the tweet goes out, cool club. You made it.
I routinely need to apologize to family members for ignoring their messages on Facebook, because I have removed it from my phones. Yeah. I've even put blockers for both, just not the distraction purposes, but also even just all all Facebook like ads and everything else on
Yeah.
all of my
Yeah.
browser profiles,
Yeah.
except for one, because I kind of need to check on things for work every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook's kind of the forgotten project or platform for me.
Platform, yeah. I feel like that's well, okay, yeah. I guess I'll stay away from some of those topics, but yeah, it's somewhat common. So yeah, so you're working for Hasura. Tell me how long you've been there and kind of how you ended up there.
Yeah, so I've been there for just over 1 year. So my boss and I were having a chat that we actually think that it was officially January 11th. I thought it was February 1st, but so I think January 11th was the official start date. So
Okay.
Just over 1 year.
Okay. Congrats.
And yeah, been doing all kinds of stuff there. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty cool product. I'd be curious in chat to hear how many of your viewers know of Hasura. I'm kind of curious to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard about Hasura back. Oh boy. Probably I don't remember exactly when. It was a few years ago. And one of my developers was kind of a big fan of it. And he ended up leaving and going to another place where they were using it, actually, not because of that, but he just ended up there. And then and now they're a client, and we're working with him on a project, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, it's kind of fun. Gant says he definitely knows it. And
yeah, that's good.
And yeah, I mean it's a cool product. I mean, I haven't used it. I played around with it a little bit, a few years ago or whenever I first learned about it. But I haven't used it. So I'm really looking forward to this to kind of get my feet wet a little more in some actual, like, how we use this thing. So that's going to be,
it's one of those tools that you understand everything that it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always believe that it really is actually doing all those things.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not a black box, which a lot of people get a little bit gun shy around.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you can actually see everything it's doing, but it is actually doing all those things for you. And so it's when you can kind of unleash that. I remember the first project I built with Hasura.
Yeah.
With somebody like internally, it was a reference app we did.
Yeah.
It was like a what do they call it? Multi-merchant e-commerce example, which adds like, O of N whatever complexity. We gutted about half of the code that I bootstrapped in React because I was working with traditional mental models that I had learned to work with, and it's like, no, actually, we're just going to modify that on the server because it's like super straightforward.
Dude, I'm looking forward to seeing that in action. By the way, Mazin says I used it for a playground project once. It was really cool. Mazin works for me. Gant is my business partner, by the way. Yulia Mum, I don't know how to say it. It's Yulian. Yulian says I use Hasura for all side projects pretty much. B Migs says it's magic. Seiko over on the YouTube side says I've heard of it. Can you explain the similarities and differences between Prisma and Hasura? I haven't used either too much.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I'm paid to say that Hasura is better. But
what more do you need to know, Seiko?
What more do you need to know? No, they are solving. Yeah, they solve very similar use cases. There's different approaches in how you would build with each one. Mm-hmm. So with Prisma, and you see this a lot. So if you're familiar with anything in the React world and like Next.js and something like Blitz.js, Prisma works really well when you want to define your data models and you want to define your structure inside of the project you're working on, like directly.
Yeah.
And what Hasura does is it abstracts all of that one level higher. So it's focusing more on creating a data model and an API access layer that's really going to be fully abstracted away from so in the case, we're talking about creating a React Native app today, right?
Yeah.
Well, this maybe would want to have like a web platform too,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe at some point you'd want to have a consumable service.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those three different pieces would do really well to interact with a very highly abstracted API layer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what Hasura is doing very specifically. And what it does very differently from Prisma is that it will generate your schemas based on an existing Postgres schema or other database schema. So it'll generate for you those resolvers if you give it a Postgres database and give you that automatic API. Whereas Prisma, you still need to define your schema and things from the ground up. I've got lots of love for the Prisma people. Shout out to Berlin. So
yeah.
You're in Germany, but good people. I know most of them personally. But
is Hasura based in Germany or is it somewhere else?
Hasura is worldwide. So technically, we've got a mailbox, or we got more than a mailbox. We have an office, an actual office in San Francisco and in Bangalore.
Okay.
But then beyond that, the team is spread on basically every inhabitable continent.
Okay.
So it's all over.
Yeah. Are you async remote or synchronous remote?
That depends a lot on the team.
Okay.
So the marketing team generally tends to be more synchronous just because we kind of like that. But it's set up. It is a remote first company.
Yeah.
So it's really geared to allowing people to work the way they like to work best. And so it's not like here's the satellite employees and then we have the main office. It's really like they've done a very fantastic job to think through the edge cases of what remote working means. Because the bosses are remote. I mean, they've got interests in West Coast US and India. And so they're like, we want a culture that we can switch back and forth.
From the very beginning, we were remote, 7 years ago. And from the very beginning, one of the things that I kind of promoted on Twitter and elsewhere was if you want to go remote as a company, start with the CEO. CEO should be the first one remote. Because here's what happens. You're like, okay, this dev wants to be remote. They're kind of being a pain in the butt about it. Can we make them happy by letting them go remote for a little while, just as an experiment, whatever. And then they have no power at all. And so they're like, hey, you all did not loop me into this meeting that you had in the office, and they're like, oh yeah, I guess we forgot about that. Where that doesn't fly with the CEO. The CEO is going to be looped in and they're going to have to feel the pain of how do we, I guess we got to loop him. We got to get him on video, stuff like that. Right. And they also have the power to enact changes and, anyway, this is a whole rant I have, but start with leadership.
Well, it really has to be something where the company says, okay, either we will be a remote first company or the employee has to just know that they will not be fully integrated. And I've been remote of all types. And when you are the satellite version, if you're okay with that, if you're okay saying, all right, I will just not be the one that's there for the pizza meeting where the whiteboard gets pulled out and try and hash this out, then you have to be okay with that and just figure out what your personal, preferences. For me, it's like, well, I prefer to be rural with my family and not in the middle of a city. So that's the choice that I make. and so sometimes you have to be okay with that. But no, and that's the thing. A lot of people focus on a lot of the things how does remote work, not that we should turn this into a remote work thing, but how does remote work stack up against what commute work does well? And it's like, well, you're kind of looking at it wrong. How about we start with commute work requires that everybody live in the same city. Let's start with that. How well does commute work do with that? Very poorly, because you have to all live in the same city. So, you don't want to measure it by all the things that commute work does well. Notice I use commute work. Yes, it is a derogatory term.
You don't want to measure by all the things commute work does well and none of the things that remote work does well. You know, like you got to be fair about that. But that's not why we're here to talk. We are here to talk.
That's not why we're here. No.
I already started things a little late. That was my fault. That was not Jesse's fault. But we are here and we have some things. I'm going to actually switch over to our dual coding screen, and of course my guest name is off because I suck at this stuff and I always have to mess with it. So yeah, someone did mention they would like to have the guest name on screen when we're doing this, so I'm putting it right there. It's going to land right below you. All right. Let's see here. Gant says sometimes I'll eat someone else's sandwich at home or microwave some fish so I can remind myself of how it was in the office.
I will say about being remote, did it not feel a little bit like cheat, not full cheat mode with COVID, but like all these people who were like all of a sudden remote overnight.
Right.
Like I can't imagine that pain point because like
right.
I've gotten my setup honed over years.
Oh yeah.
And like I've got my own space closed off. Like.
Right.
Yeah.
No. You're totally right. It was like at first it was like relief, like in some ways, like okay, this thing we've been advocating for years just got moved up like 10 years, maybe 20 years. I don't know. It got moved up really fast.
Yeah.
And it was like, awesome, you know, finally, like it's a silver lining in this kind of dark cloud we have that, hey, this is happening. And then I realized that one of our big competitive advantages for recruiting developers just evaporated.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, COVID. You ruin everything. So we had to find other competitive advantages, which we do have. Go to careers.infinite.red. But anyway.
Yeah, on track.
Yes, on track. We are semi ADHD here, but we will forge through. All right, Hasura. Or you say Hasura. How do you pronounce it more? Hasura.
I say Hasura. Yeah.
Okay.
I may be saying it wrong too. I'm not
well,
sure.
you work there, and they pay you to talk about it, so I'm going to go with yours. Build modern apps and APIs. Oh yeah, instant GraphQL in all your data. So GraphQL is a central part of Hasura.
Key, yeah.
It's very, very key. You're not going to be doing necessarily like a REST thing here. This is going to be GraphQL. Modern apps and APIs 10x faster, built-in authorization and caching, which is important. Blazing fast, GraphQL REST API. Oh, it does have REST APIs. Okay.
Support, yeah. So it does. It consumes and it can expose a GraphQL API that you would then like a query or a mutation that you'd want to persist behind a REST endpoint. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Gant says, show everyone the original Hasura logo. How do I find that?
My guess is if you do a Google image search, you'll find it pretty quick. It's this old, I don't even know what they call it. It's this masked ward away evil spirits. There it is. That's the
this one.
This little down the bottom. There you go.
That is, you know, this Gant, and I mean this with all love, but this seems like something Gant would love. Yeah, see, he says so epic. See, this is totally up Gant's alley. This is something he would never change it. This would be it. That would be what. That is totally a Gant logo. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay. That's good. All right. By the way, we just got a follow from Matthews Dev. Matt. You know, some of you all with your usernames, it's like it's close enough that I can mispronounce it, but you know, like Matthews Dev. I guess so. Yeah, we'll go with that. We also had Grenade Duck. So thank you for the follow. Appreciate that.
You can still pronounce Grenade Duck.
I can. Grenade Duck is actually a pretty epic name. Okay, so I'm probably going to need to sign up, you know, to get into this, unless you have a demo you want me to do
this on cloud. No, I would suggest we do this on cloud because it's going to be the easiest way. Hasura is an open source project, and so you can do
right,
like 90 5% of everything. So we got like built-in caching, things that require server level access,
right?
Is where there'll be a differentiation. But you can do it all open source. You can do it with Docker and all that kind of stuff.
Why do you guys give that away? I'm curious. That's giving away a lot of value.
Yeah, it's just a big part of the culture we have. Is that they're very focused on having a mindset towards open source and community. Like, we want people to build cool apps. We're trying to find a way to build a company around it.
Right.
It's working so far.
Yeah.
But,
that's awesome. No, it totally makes sense. And what you do is you make Hasura Cloud be the easiest and most reliable way to run it. And then people will pay you to do it instead of, Heroku or something. But you do have these others, which sort of like engenders trust. It's like, okay, if I really fall out of love with you folks, I can just go somewhere else.
Right.
And that's a trust thing. Okay, I like that. So should I just go ahead and like sign up for an account, or should I log in as some demo? Okay. All right. Cool. And we got another Martin Does Coding. I can read that one. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. And I'm gonna, even though I think this will be fine, I'm gonna do this off screen. I'm gonna sign up. Click on GitHub. Okay, I can show that.
Gotta do the things.
I'll show that. So it asked me to, and it's only just asking for my email addresses, which I'm sure you sell to everybody. Authorize.
We do. Yeah. I personally get access to it.
Yeah. So that was ridiculously easy. Just click, 2 buttons and I'm in. All right, good. I am not, by the way, paid to do this. I'm giving my honest opinion, and I will give my honest opinion throughout this stream. But I do appreciate good UX, and that was good UX. All right, so GraphQL engine. All right, we're launching the console, I guess.
Yep.
And we're now at cloud.hasura.io, so we're in the cloud thing here. We got a little get started thing, but I have Jesse as a live one, so I don't need to watch the videos. Cool. All right. So what we're doing today for everybody who's watching is we are going to be putting together an app for intermittent fasting. And I did find an intermittent fasting app that I really love. So my need for this is less so, but I still think it's a cool idea because it's just a cool. Okay, I'll explain what intermittent fasting is for some people. So it's a way to, for me, it's worked for weight loss, but it's not necessarily designed entirely for weight loss. But it essentially means that you limit the hours that you consume calories to, for me, for example, it might be noon to 5 p.m., something like that, which is a fairly aggressive stretch. I only eat from noon to 5 p.m. and I eat all of my calories in that time. And the rest of the time, I only drink coffee and water. So right now I'm still fasting and I have my coffee in my Pearl Harbor commemorative mug and I have water. So that is what an intermittent fasting thing is. But an app that helps you with that basically reminds you, hey, you just finished your fast, like come in here and log it. Or, hey, it's time to start fasting and, start the clock, and you can adjust a few different things here and there. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Yeah. Now I was gonna ask, so it will make a difference a little bit in the data model per se, because there's a couple of interesting data models we can look at for solving this. Mm-hmm. Another strategy that intermittent fasters will often follow will be to align their eating window with sun hours. So avoiding eating after the sun goes down, because there's supposedly some sort of cortisol timing release based on light.
Really?
So if you're doing the whole, is it blue or is it yellow tinted glasses? Or whatever it is. That whole stuff is supposed to work as well with your body's natural ability to essentially maintain how much cortisol it produces. Some people like that in an intermittent fasting application. We could see about that would just kind of control how much data we're tracking. Right. But yeah, I was curious, and you probably can geek out about this as well. So I was just recently reading about using eventing data sources. So instead of using like a pure relational model, so let's say we would be tracking a fast with a start and an end period, we would potentially be just tracking a large list of timestamps.
Yep.
With then either fasting or non-fasting,
Right.
and then we would just grab the last two events as a delta, essentially, to gather the status or how long we're fasting or whatever else. Yeah,
I think that's really cool because obviously you can kind of reconstruct all the data that you need from those events. And this is kind of interesting because I have a background in back-end development. That's what I did to start with for many, many years. I find myself over on the front end because of React Native, although I still gravitate toward the back end of React Native. But this is going to be interesting for our audience to learn about, like, you know, how to think about the back end if you are a front end developer. And because, you know, front end developer, you're receiving maybe what the current fasting period is right now or something, or when it started or something like that. You're getting that from the API, but how is it stored on the back end? I think this will be helpful. I like your idea of the eventing. We can totally do that.
Yeah, and then I think event sourcing is what it's called, right? I think that's
event sourcing. Yep.
But, yeah. Because then you can also do, especially like with Hasura, because we have like subscriptions in place and whatnot. What would be interesting as well is you can also then subscribe to a much more lean data set for all the users. Maybe if you wanted to have a group. One of the things that I've always liked, because when I started intermittent fasting, I'm not currently doing it. I tend to do intervals throughout the year. Finished 100 days.
Okay,
so
nice.
I'm done. But when you use the Zero app, it shows you how many people are currently fasting. Yeah, like in a currently fasted state using the app, and it's something like 500,000 people typically when you look at the application. That's pretty cool. If they can be trusted. Yeah. Which we could show those numbers on our app too if we want. Yeah, exactly. And or you could have groups, you know, because one of the most interesting things is if you have somebody else that you know who's doing it as well. Yeah, it's a little bit of a like, oh, your morning's sucking too. That's great, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's kind of that misery loves company sort of effect.
Yeah,
where
totally.
we could potentially look at creating groups, a grouping data model where somebody could kind of be a member of groups that are tracking who's fasting, who's not fasting. We could see about that. But.
Okay, I like your ideas. These are great. I think you're a more accomplished intermittent faster than I am. I've done it a few times. It's been really, really helpful for me. I really enjoy it. It's great. I honestly, after you get past the initial kind of like, I guess the mental part of it for me, well, because honestly for me, like weight control, a lot of it is about like snacking and eating sometimes meals that I don't
Fighting
need.
Food with food, man. It's like the most effective strategy. If I eat this cracker right now, I have to wait another 4 hours tomorrow.
Yeah. Exactly. And it just like heads all of that stuff off. There's consequences to all that. It's really, really helpful. And I've done, it's really been, and it's the easiest thing because I don't have to sit there and like count calories and do all this stuff. You still have to be careful. You can't just slam down 3,000 calories in 4 hours, but it's also harder to do that. And you don't feel
it's hard to do that. Yeah. There's another benefit to it, but there's two warnings I would add. The two warnings is one is you have to drink a ton of water because what's happening in the fasting stage is that your body is going into autophagy, right? So it's essentially saying we're just tipping over into the potential starvation mode. So it's doing a cellular cleanse. It's saying it's time to get rid of all this junk and it's time for us to go ahead. Yeah. While I'm talking, you can go to the data tab and connect the database. You can also just provision one with Heroku there if you want.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, keep going.
So anyways, it does this cellular cleanse, and that is what's giving you a lot of the health benefits. But you have to process that out of your body. Right. So you need water to do that. The other danger is that if you do not adopt it as a lifestyle, like I haven't. So if you do phases like, a couple months on, couple months off, it does train some bad eating habits. Because especially if you do, because the goal is not to actually do calorie reduction. You should try to hit your calorie goal. It's just very difficult, and it just works then really well for weight loss. Yeah. But what'll happen is if if you don't try to get all your calories, you're going to slow down your metabolism, and your body's actually going to slow down its ability to process food. So it gets more dangerous. And then if you try to get all those calories in that window, it's basically, as soon as that fasting is over, it's just like off to the races, man. It's just like, nobody stand between me and the refrigerator right now, because it's just like, this is game on. And it just can train your body to eat unhealthily large meals if you then switch off. So I would just be cautious there. But the biggest health benefits I've seen is the way that it tackles inflammation in the body. So if you've got perpetually achy joints, or if you've got gut inflammation where you just like, living that developer life. It cleans that stuff up remarkably well and remarkably quick. And so those are also huge health benefits that it really does work well with. But I've read about all this stuff, and it's super fascinating. And I'm definitely here for it. I do agree. Like, for me, what I want to do is get a healthy amount of calories in a healthy way, the right proteins and everything else in that fasting window, and then use the rest of it as sort of a bit of a blunt instrument to keep me from snacking and carbing up too much, which is honestly, another one of my struggles. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. It does get a little difficult if I have a hockey game, because like I need to make sure that I'm getting the calories at the right time for hockey. I can't have a bunch of food in my stomach when I'm about to play. So I have to kind of like throw things around, like, okay, I'm gonna be eating earlier in the day and things like that. It tends to go out of the window a little bit on Saturdays because of that. I do when I'm fasting, I do one cheat day per week where I eat a normal window. One because it's just good for family purposes. Because especially as a remote worker, you have the option of having every meal with the family, which is great. But it also helps reset the metabolism, just to make sure that you don't actually go into that reduced metabolic rate, which is something you want to try to avoid at all costs. Right. Because it's difficult to ramp it back up, especially the older you get.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and that tends to be my Saturday, because that's the hockey day. So try to eat a little more early in the day, and then create table here, or what are we looking at?
Yeah, let's dig right into it. So what I would suggest us doing, do you want to try creating a Notion of users, or do you want to just do this as kind of like a personal tracker for now?
Boy, that's a good question. Like, if we bite off too much, we're not going to get very far. At the same time, how, is this going to bite us later?
Well, we can start. So the data is not going to differ much if we were to add, because essentially we're talking about an owner of the data model, of the entry. So we can essentially just model it like it was a single user system. And then we can later on add
the filter.
If we get there. Because I want to see the React Native side. I don't know the React Native side. I've done a couple of Hello Worlds, but
some of that we're going to be learning together, because even though I obviously run a React Native agency, I don't work on this stuff every day. That's why I love streaming this, because I learn stuff. So we're going to be learning it together. But we'll be able to kind of play with some of this stuff and see how it all comes together. So do you want to take you want to do like fasting events or something like that? Or
let's go fasting event. Yeah, that'd be great.
And you would go event. Okay.
I think the singular works better. I haven't landed on a good approach there.
Yep, no worries.
So before you add a field there, let's go ahead and grab some of these frequently used columns down below. There's a button there. We're rehauling this interface.
Where am I? Right here. Okay.
Actually, up a little bit higher there. I'm seeing a delay too.
Oh, you are? Yeah. I found it. Yep. Yep.
So we'll go ahead and let's add a UUID so we get a nice global.
This one here. Okay, you're not seeing it. Sorry, I need to actually work on finding a way to fix that delay. But yes, I got the UUID. Perfect.
And then we'll add a created ad.
Do we say unique
updated
on that?
ad as well?
I'm sorry. Do we?
It will automatically when you hit save, but go ahead and add unique. It's fine.
Oh, okay, cool. And then created at. Probably won't have an updated ad if we're doing Actually, I can edit my fast.
You can, right? Because you could go later on because you hit the big button, stop, and because you know you're waiting till halfway through the meal, and you go, "Oh, I forgot to stop my timer."
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should have probably allow editing that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I put an update at. All right, cool.
Frankly, that's it.
That's it. Hey, we're done, everybody.
We're done.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
So what we could do is we could just theoretically play with the idea of what's going to happen later on if we wanted to create. So what we can do is we can have a user ID to indicate an owner of the model.
Oh, do that right now.
Let's just add it for now.
Okay. Do we have a user ID in the?
Not in the frequently.
Okay, so we're gonna want to just create it then, I guess.
Yeah.
User ID. Column type is gonna be a UUID, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because we're gonna be getting that from somewhere else.
Because you can define users, which whatever
Okay.
A Postgres.
Yeah.
What do they call those iterators or whatever loops?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
So I'm trying to think through if we were to theoretically create the idea of a group. The best way to model, well, it would actually be the user is currently a member of a group, and then that group would just be getting a collection of the users and the user's current delta fasting state.
We would filter through it that way. Okay, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go ahead and let's create those 3 models just so we have connection and we can kind of show people how that connects. Yeah.
Add that table.
Yeah.
And then
we could define the foreign key here if we wanted to, but we can also do it in another way. We'll go through the other way for now. So we'll go back to the public schema. Yeah.
Yep. Create another table.
Just make a new table. Make it users.
Users.
Keeping with a singular. With our.
Okay. Yeah. Frequently used we are going to need the UUID.
Mm-hmm.
Created at makes sense.
Cardinality.
Do we need updated at? It's always nice.
Yeah, it's always helpful. Yeah.
And then I think and then primary key is good. Okay, anything else?
And in this case, we can actually just go ahead and add the table, and then we'll add the relationship right away.
Okay, cool.
I mean, we could add things like email and stuff. We could add name. We could add those kind of things too. But
I see. Yeah.
But we can go to relationships now.
Sorry, I'm relation. Oh, it's right there.
The tab at the very top of the.
Yep.
And then if we go ahead and say add configure,
Okay.
If we had created the foreign key relationships, it would have prompted you there for which one to do. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and make this be an array relationship
because
from user to fasting event. Right?
Yeah. Do we call it that
event?
Or
you could do that, yeah. If you want to go that way, yeah.
Okay.
It's just everything you're going to have to type later on in your GraphQL query.
Okay, we're changing it to no, I'm just FE.
to UTE.
Yeah. All right, and then we are going to have an ID to the user ID.
Yeah, we could actually call it fasts, like plural in this case.
Oh, you know what? I like that.
Cleaner.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like this user's fasts. That totally makes sense. Okay, cool.
And then so you grab the relationship. Yeah, you already got it. So we'll just go ahead and save.
Perfect. So Flexbox said, "Hey, React Native Hasura friends, do not want to interrupt the stream. Just have a quick question. How can you invite a collaborator on Hasura? I tried on my project, and for some reason it's not working. My coworker got, there's a problem accessing your project. Is there some limits to collaborators on free plan?" So I guess that would be the question for you, Jesse.
There is a limit to collaborators. That'd be a question of how many collaborators you've already got.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at the pricing real quick.
Yep.
Those kind of questions too. We have a pretty active Discord server for Hasura, so a lot of those kind of questions you can definitely come over and ping us.
Nice.
But so under collaborators, I'm assuming this has to be cloud. So I'm looking. Got some sort of mobile view triggered here. Let's see here, collaborators. I have to do a page search. So it says up to 10. So if you're within that limit, you should be fine.
Oh, okay.
On free. But if not, then ping us on Discord and we'll have a look.
Yeah. There's a problem accessing your project. Sounds like you may have run into like a bug or something, possibly. But yeah. Yura over on YouTube says, when you are a React Native developer and you know something about backend, you can argue with the backend dev about data that you receive from the backend. If not, you just have to come to terms with what you have. Okay, yeah, I mean that's true. Like you know just enough to be dangerous and annoying to them, which is your job. So, okay.
Like talking to your doctor about intermittent fasting.
You sound like that's happened before. Yeah, that's funny. All right, cool. There's also a permissions tab, which I keep like eyeing right there. That is kind of interesting. So we have admin and then there's roles and
we can
like
have
that.
a look at that here real quick.
Yeah.
So let's do something. I'm trying to think here. Yeah. This I wouldn't normally do it this way, but we can go ahead and play with this. We're gonna create so this will actually show us how to create an unauthorized access. So if you go back to your dashboard for all of your Hasura projects, so the tab probably to the left of your main tab.
Sorry, I'm
for your browser tabs there.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Yep, I'm here.
And then underneath your environment variables.
There, yep.
Which is, yeah. And then we're going to go ahead and add a new endvar, and you're going to have to do a bit of a string search, something like unauthenticated or unauthorized, but it'll be like Hasura _ unauthorized. It's a pre-existing
unauthorized role. Okay.
There you go. And give this whatever role name you want the unauthenticated user to unauthorized user to have. So I typically use anonymous.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to add that. Okay, and that's in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if we go back over to the API Explorer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it was saving, so we'll see if it's out of La La Land from rebooting
Still
the console.
updating. It looks like
applying.
Applying changes there. Yeah.
It's got a bit of a delay there. Not sure why, but so we can go to the permissions now, and if you go down to that permissions, looks good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Down to the adding a new the anonymous role there.
Yep. And then just leave it as.
And then I would go ahead and turn on select, and we're going to specifically choose. So the pencil there for select. Yeah, we're going to specifically allow it to grab just the created at.
Okay, so it's not giving me.
Sorry, without any checks. So there's going to be no.
Without any checks
on this.
Created
and then
at.
you'll be able to do created at in this case.
And then just save that, right?
Now, I would say one thing that we've done here, it's a little bit brittle with the data model, is we'll have to make created at to be the. Yeah. So technically, we allow the way we're tracking the fasting is somebody is going to be able to go in and edit the created at date. Now that's technically not true.
We do have entry. An updated at. Could we use that?
But that would assume somebody has to update something. So it could be is somebody. It could be that maybe we should add a start instead.
Yeah, you're right.
Or a event, like an event time.
Another option.
And that event time is the thing.
Another option is if they edit, we could delete the row and just insert a new one with the right. No, the created at would be. But I don't know if that's. I think you're right that the started at or something makes sense.
The problem use case with that would be is if I start my fast and then I end my fast on time and I realize that my starting time of that window was actually was
Yeah.
actually older,
They're out of order now.
then those events are out of order.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
But then-
I think we need a event at or something like that, and we're gonna need probably an event type as well, right? Because we need a start and an end.
So the question is, should there be two event sources, one for starting events and one for ending events?
I'm gonna come back to fasting event. Yeah, well, so we're gonna need a type, right? Like a event type of start and end, or do we have two different tables?
Let's go ahead and so if we do start and end, then we're basically back to tracking a fast as a singular event.
You're right.
So it would be then an abstracted event time.
Event time.
Or time.
Event.
Like just a
event at.
Event time.
Or,
I'm just trying to think through the model of the use case. So from gathering the data, essentially, I'm wanting to grab the it puts a little bit more logic into the front end.
Right.
So what I'm assuming what we would probably do is we would grab the first event where there's a Boolean, because we're missing another field here. We need a Boolean for fasting and non-fasting.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
we would need we would need to have some kind of a. Grab the first event in my event stream where the fasting is true, and the first event where fasting is false, and then in my front end logic, I have to do a comparison to say which one comes first. Comes first.
My thought here is like an enum, or is there not an enum? What would it be? I mean, we can do a string, but
what are you trying to do?
Rather than a Boolean, I'm thinking just an enum, basically. Like,
okay, yeah.
Would it just
so we'd
be
have
text?
to create enums a little bit differently. So you'd have to create those as a separate table. We then create a relationship to that as an enum table.
Okay.
And then we would be able to tell it to
use this
to
or
use that and make it a constraint to the
it's a constraint
the
then
table.
Yeah. I think we're okay then with Booleans at this point. Yeah. So like I tend to shy away from Booleans generally in my data models, just because usually that is an indication, because like it's not always just two things. Sometimes there might be three. There might be another type of event that we want to track or something like that, right? So yes,
this one. So eating, non-eating. It's kind of. Is there a third
fasting
state that they could fall into?
Eating.
Yeah, I mean it's fasting or non-fasting is the Boolean state. Yeah.
So someone looking at this, does the fasting being checked mean you're starting it? Yes, that would be it.
Yeah.
You're starting the fast. So maybe we should starting fast is checked.
But then,
we know that
we're out of the event source.
with the Boolean, or what was your thought?
If it's event sourced, then it's simply a history of state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the timestamp of when the state changed and the current value of that state. So the state we're tracking is the fasting state.
Correct.
I'm pulling this from the deepest parts of my brain I can reach right now. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the situation that we're going to potentially need a handle for on the front end is when we query for this content, we're going to need to grab the last event where fasting is true and the last event where fasting is false.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I feel like,
and then we compare that to know if there was like some sort of an editing event or not an editing event from somebody going back into time and changing something.
Correct. So we can do the event time as our sort when we're sorting.
Yeah. So here's the problem that I can now see is that if somebody were to want to go back 2 days in history
Yeah.
to change the starting time of a fast in history, then this model becomes brittle.
Yeah, it could be brittle. You could have a situation where you're creating 2 fasting events in a row and 2 non-fasting events in a row, which doesn't make sense.
It puts the it puts the control or the logic on we'd have to group by date to be able to say, okay, we have all of these days, and then this is the event stream of those days,
Right.
and then we create the source of truth delta from those events.
Yeah.
Versus having a maximum of essentially 365 data entries per user with a start and an end time.
Right. So you couldn't
That's
have multiple
probably-
fasts per day. It would be a thing where you're just like, this is my fast and we're starting and an end. Or I mean, I guess you could, but like, yeah.
So I would suggest let's lose the event stream, the event source idea.
let's make this simple. You know what? We're doing a demo
Yeah.
here. So
We'll do a start time and an end time on the fasting event here, and then we've got it.
that makes sense. Okay, so let's
easy
modify this. I'm going
Yeah.
to edit the event time to be a start time.
Yeah.
Save that.
And then we'll add
Did
an
that-
end time on it.
Let me go back here. Oh, it changed. Oh, you fixed it. Okay, good. Close that, and then we need to add an end.
We
time.
can delete the Boolean.
Yeah.
Because at that point we have the value. Yeah.
This is a timestamp.
And this actually really speaks to one of the biggest problems, or not problems, but one of the biggest shifts with even tooling these days. So I mean, I've tracked the status of developing with React Native, so I know that it's ridiculously faster than it used to
Yeah.
be. And even with modeling like this and creating an API so quickly, is it just really offloads all of the work time into thinking through the domain problem,
Yeah.
and not through the actual structure and boilerplate code problem.
Right.
Which
yeah,
is a really
exactly.
powerful concept.
I agree with that. Now, I think this is a good time to bring up. You had sent me this before we started the stream. Draw SQL.app. Explain what this is.
Yeah, you want to try creating an account there real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, it's another account you have to pay.
No problem.
I am
is
not
there
affiliated with this one, so just so you know, you're giving your creds. And there's no single sign on with this one.
Yeah, it looks like it. I'll do this while you kind of explain what it
But
is.
what it is it is a diagramming tool for databases that lets you visually look at your schema and be able to kind of think through these problems ahead of time before you go in and just start mucking around. And that the danger with tools like this, with Hasura and other tools where you can do schema design inside of it, is that it's really easy to just kind of get in there and start digging around before having a chance to catch your logical errors ahead of time.
Right.
So we would grab Postgres in this case because that's the database, because you can export the actual final product.
Right.
And if you give it whatever name you want here, we can call it the fasting app or...
Okay, that's very boring, but we're going to go with that. Create new.
I was going to create a very contextualized Washingtonian joke on that, but I think that would just lose half the audience.
Okay, now I want to hear that.
Like
You can't just...
the Iman's fasting, whatever, Tim Iman's fasting, whatever it's called, the initiative or something, cutting back.
Okay, I get that. I do get that. That is hilarious, but that is totally a Washingtonian only joke. I don't think anybody, even literally like right across the river, would get it at all. That's hilarious. That is a way to...
That's what they call... That is what they call a zero proof trust. Where you can prove to somebody that you're from Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
them
I now believe you grew up in Washington. that 100% agree. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so user.
We'll go ahead. we're going to do a new table. Tim Iman, for those that are watching, was notorious for basically being a pain to local government by filing initiative after initiative of
Just
ways
constantly
to resist tax, raise taxes and everything else. But,
yeah, just constantly. That's definitely a Washingtonian thing. Derek, we have a spammer over on the YouTube side, FYI. Okay, so let's see here. User, we are going to need a name, probably, and we probably should have. Where's my string? No string. Text? Okay, text.
I think text is Postgres, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Let's see here. Then we have. Do we have frequently used? Can do a color. Okay. Whoops. Created at timestamp.
And we don't have to go too deep into this when
Right.
we're creating the model. We already did.
That's
but
true.
So if we had, for example, the fast, like a new table there, and you created the fasting one there, and let's go ahead and put a user ID on that as well for just a field we would have.
So UUID.
And I'd put a user ID on.
Oh wait, what's that? That's what I meant. But it's user ID on a fast, and then we would also have a start
and
time.
then you can drag those tables apart there on the window.
Yeah. And
you can
do something
connect
like
that user ID to the ID, and then you can just start to create, your cardinality and the way that you'd want to have this shaped, and kind of look through your problem of your database model. And when you're done,
why is it? I think I went the wrong way.
You see it change the crow's feet there.
Yeah. And the crow's feet means there are many on this side.
Right.
Users have many fasts. So yeah, okay, so that makes sense. I like that. Yeah, that's cool. I've used these tools before in the past. It's been many years, but yeah.
This one seems particularly pretty.
Yeah, it's really nice, really smooth. I like it.
And if you go to File, I think should be an export option up there.
Okay. And there is the
and
Postgres.
If you export it, you can actually grab the Postgres statement and a couple of other things too. And that becomes really nice if you wanted to you could just import that as an SQL statement inside of Hasura and actually bootstrap your whole project, which is also kind of cool.
And you all will actually take that and pull that in. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, very cool. Well, that's very helpful.
If you see the SQL tab there on the left hand side of Hasura, go to the Hasura console there.
Oh, wow.
Underneath, yeah. Then you can actually write whatever SQL statements you want there to build out tables or add functions, whatever else you would want to do.
Yeah, that looks great. That looks really good. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we do have a start time and an end time.
Created over the next hour. So,
that's all right. We're learning some stuff. You know what? Here's the thing, Jesse, and I tell everybody this, and I think you probably know this because, your job. But these streams have to be at a slow pace just because I don't want to do a talk twice a week, Like this isn't a talk. This is us hanging out and having fun and learning some stuff. So to me, like it's got to have some sustainable pace. There's going to be many more options to have you on. So let's just, keep kind of forging forward and it's all good.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. So let's add just some quick dummy data and see kind of how this would work.
All right. So these
trying to think if I should suggest a even wilder
I guess I need to
sidetrack here.
Sure.
You ever worked with Makaru?
No. I'm gonna put a name by the way.
Going to do a little tool time today. Oh.
Send me that.
If you open up a new tab there for Makaru.
Okay. Makaru. MOCK. Random data generator. Interesting.
So if you go in there, and we're going to just delete all of the existing rows there.
Okay.
And we're going to just take for the fasting, we're just going to take one field that is going to be the start field. So we need to match it to our column name that we had from Hasura.
Okay, let me go look at that. It was, I'm not on the fasting event here. It's start time.
So that's going to be,
yeah.
So we want start time, end time, and we could do a user ID, but we could also leave that off for now. But,
okay.
And then we're going to do the data type. We're going to give it a timestamps.
Is that a date time here? Probably a date time.
So timestamps is with time zone. I'm not sure, maybe, but I think yeah, we can do date time. Let's try it. Let's see what it gives us.
Yeah.
And we can give it a range. But so this might be too much of a sidetrack worth developing. But if we could actually write a function that would make the second time, the end time, be a time a few hours ahead of whatever the start time was, right? And then we would be able to generate a couple hundred or a couple thousand records of history for this thing.
So you could go start time plus something. I don't know what language this is. Micro formula. Do we have?
There's a formula reference there.
Oh, date diff. Yeah. So you could there's date. That's the number of days. So yeah, you could totally. Okay, I could see the value of doing this here. Okay. Yeah. That's kind of interesting. I have not used this. Let me see here.
Yeah, and then you download an SQL statement and you can import that and it gives
plus
you the
hours. Okay.
Oh, that should work.
And I don't know,
start time plus hours.
10 hours.
8 or 10
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So
what's your fasting regimen? How many hours do you go?
I usually go about 18 hours, 16 to 18 somewhere. Yeah. So yeah. I mean that'd be like what 12 somewhere in there.
We can go 16
or not 12.
16 hours
that'd be 8. Why is my brain not working right now?
16-8 or an 18-6. Yeah.
So we are putting for end time. We'd be doing yeah. I'll go 16.
Adding.
Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
So now there's a function that runs. This one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then you can export it with a few different options here.
We can give it 1,000 records. Now, what I do think we may have a small issue with is that we haven't accounted for date variance. So, for example, we're going to get a lot of duplicates. In this case, duplicate days. But
so you could technically have. I don't know if they have the ability to look at the previously generated one.
They do, yeah.
They do.
There's a row indicator.
There is? Okay. So...
Well, you could have it start on one day, and then the start date would basically be the current row number.
There's a row... Sorry, let me... It's not showing me row. It's not showing me row. This is really cool though. It's just a really easy way to kind of I mean, you could write a script for this, but this is way easier.
You could also do this in Google Sheets probably faster.
You're probably right.
For this particular data set.
Let's just add a couple of manual events and go with it. Yeah. So what's this?
So we go to insert row, and then we're just going to go ahead and create.
Oh, default.
We don't have the. It'll pre-fill the UI.
So we're going to need a user first. So default, and then the name is going to be Jamin here. So I'm just going to save that. And then Jesse. All right. So we've got a couple of users, hopefully. Let me check. Yep, there we go. Boom. There we are. All right, sweet. And then I can go to the fasting event, insert a row, and then we have all this stuff. And then our user ID, I actually need to grab that from
the,
this one here. Copy that. Go back to fasting event, insert row, and my user ID is going to be that. And my starting time, and this is actually going to be null because start time's not nullable. End time is nullable because you can have one in progress. So, all right, yeah. And I like the way like you could have some constraints. What type timestamp with time zone? There's no. Okay, so I'm just gonna need to copy this.
You have to create a timestamp, for ISO 861 8601. If you just Google, I think now, or we could do the console trick too.
Just do the console. Okay. And is it gonna? Can I just use this?
You should be able to.
Yeah. All right.
And then you can't paste that in. It needs to be in the 8601. So you'll need to. I believe.
Actually, is there a way to do that in console?
I believe so. I think it's just browse the options it gives you.
ISO string. Whoops. Is that going to give us what we want?
Two ISO string. Probably.
Pretty close. Yeah.
That should do it.
It's like whoops. All right. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so insert that. Didn't like it. Which one is it? Oh, because I need to go default here. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we have that one. And
now you could just iterate that by pasting. You could kind of visually update that if you wanted to with an end time, just eyeballing it.
Oh, true.
And
yeah. Edit the one that I just did.
Yeah, and then create essentially a duplicate with a different.
Yeah, so I could just go in here and say, is it 19 here? So we only did a very short fast. It's only 3 hours, so I'm going to 22, and I'm going to save that
because we're beginners.
Exactly. We can. 3 hours is about all we can handle. So we do have an end time.
If you you could duplicate that record and get a interval update on the just add the day increment.
Yeah, just add a day. Okay, so we're gonna go to
and that'll be an open one.
Actually,
so take off the.
Oh yeah.
It's year month day. Yeah.
Let me go back to this one real quick, and I'm gonna make this one the 30th.
In history, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this one will be yesterday's. Let's save that, and then then we're gonna go back and we're going to duplicate this as you said, and we're gonna make this today, and we're gonna null this one, and that will be.
So you just duplicate. I think you got three entries now. If I
do I?
Maybe.
Oh, you're probably right. No, I only have one. Actually, you know what? I think I know what I need to do here. So this one's the 31st, and then I delete that, and I go to null. It's kind of annoying that you're not on that I don't have something good where you can see in real time.
Default. Yeah.
So I'm going to go defaults for all ID created, updated that,
yeah,
and then save that. Should work. Okay, that did. And then if I go back here, we now have 2 entries. One is nulled, and the other one's for yesterday.
Looks correct.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, that was pretty easy, really. That wasn't bad. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we go to the API Explorer, we can just kind of have a look at it. It's at the tab near the top there.
Hey, Mateo. Sorry. Hey, Mateo jumping in from YouTube. Say again, Jesse?
Yeah, if you go to the API at the top.
Let's see here. Right there. Yep.
and then we can actually explore the GraphQL API that we have so far. So you could actually start with the user model and work your way down.
All right. So we're going to want the
Drop
ID,
down to
the
fast
name,
there, yeah.
created, updated, if we want all this stuff. Yep. And then we probably want fasts, and we want, now this is probably a where.
Well, you don't even need that because we're just going to grab everything we got right
Grab
now.
everything we got. Okay. Yeah, just.
So we can just.
Got the ID. I guess we probably want the start time and the end time.
Yeah, because we could limit it. We could say, get me the top, right? So just give me the one that's current.
Yeah.
Or things like that, or filter order by date.
I probably
that
don't.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I just need the ID, my name, and then the fast ID, start time, and end time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's looking
And right
good.
now you'll see this grabbing both of our data. And we could limit that to, if we were working with the permission controls,
right?
We would actually be able to like limit that down to say, okay, only if the ID from like a session variable is matching my user ID, then return the data to me, but otherwise don't return it to me.
So I just manually said where the ID is equal to this ID, and then that's only giving me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if you go back to the permissions tab.
Let's see, permissions. Let's see, is that under data or?
Sorry. If you go to under data and you go back to the fasts.
To the fasting events.
Fasting event.
Okay.
Fasting event. Yeah. Enter permissions.
Yep. I don't have anonymous in here.
I think we maybe didn't save it. Not sure, but we're not going to do anonymous just yet. We're going to make a user model. We're going to create a user role.
Okay, just user. Okay.
Yeah.
And what we're going to have
underneath select.
Yeah. Select.
We would do with custom check.
With custom check. Yep.
And then we'd click on there and we would say, let me see the options there. If you drop down on it, it would be the user ID.
Yep. Is equal to.
Yeah. I'm just having a delay, so
yeah.
And then we'll use the recommendation that it has there. The X's are a user ID.
Okay. Yep. So that would actually be that's a custom thing that, or I mean,
so that would be a session variable that you would pass in with the query, or it would be inside of your JWT.
Okay.
And then that would be then pulled out and seen to be, okay, this is the user ID that I have.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and give the person this information.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we turn on all the columns there, toggle all.
You can see everything.
You have access
for
to
the
your
fast.
own stuff.
Yeah. Save your for your own stuff. You can see everything.
Exactly.
Now, do we disallow? Does that disallow access to fasts that that don't have your user ID then?
That would, again, as long as you are, so if I'm authenticated and I'm passing in my user ID, and using a JWT, right? So I'd have to pass in some kind of JWT in this case. Then I would only have access to my fast. I wouldn't have access to anybody else's. In this case, I wouldn't be able to insert, update, or delete my own fasts either. I would have to replicate that logic for the different permissions as well.
I see. So that's how that would work. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool.
Now, for the purposes of the React Native connection, we can just use full admin access for now.
Yeah.
And just
blast
mess
through.
With the just mess with the query.
Yeah. Okay. And then we would refine that as we got closer to we need to start testing this with the users and stuff. Okay. Makes sense. Cool.
But at this point, we could see about putting pixels on the page. I'm not sure how we're doing on time here, but we could just see about putting pixels on the page.
I can go. That's a good question. Yeah, I can go till. Let's see here. Of course, I mess up my schedule here. I've got another probably 30 minutes, and I don't want to take too much of your time either, Jesse. And we can certainly have you back on. But you good with like 30 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, let's plan on that. Awesome. Okay, so. Let's see. Where did you want to go? You wanted to put...
So
Yeah.
maybe we could just kind of see how you would go about taking this API and spitting it out on a React Native
React
project.
Native, yeah. Okay, so first off, we're going to spin up a new, and I think I'm going to use Ignite for this. So Ignite is our CLI that allows us to create a boilerplate project. This is what we use for all of our new projects when we can. And we're gonna call this fasting app, Tim Iman, and we're gonna go --expo because we're gonna use Expo for this. So Expo is a layer and a set of tools on top of React Native that allows us to run an app without having to do, like have the native side of it. They kind of handle all of that for you, so you can basically, it's almost like a custom browser for React Native. I like to do that for these types of demos, but we certainly would not have to use it. Okay, so Expo CLI with Yarn. Let's see. And then we have to figure out what SQL client we want to use. Do you have a recommendation on that, Jesse?
Well, now, does it need to be a SQL
Or it's
client?
not SQL,
It's just
GraphQL.
It's just a fetch client, right?
We can just use fetch, but do you...
If you...
Yeah.
So this is a React product, right? There's probably wrappings for GraphQL code gen with I'm guessing there's wrappings for GraphQL code gen.
The most popular are Apollo, which of course you've used, I'm sure. Yeah. It's pretty popular. Urkel, which Formidable uses.
You could go with Urkel because it's pretty lightweight.
Yeah, and I'm right now like Urkel is kind of like the thing that I would probably lean toward. So
the one that I tend to use a lot of right now is React Query.
Yes.
With the GraphQL code gen plugin, because then you get a React hook mapped to your typings, so you can basically essentially it's a little bit weird to explain.
Yeah, so you can use the
you
query.
write your documents, your GraphQL documents of what your query would be, and then that document gets converted into a hook. So you then say something like fetch fast. What we could do is use Urkel just to kind of show the vanilla approach.
Okay.
And then maybe if we do have another, round 2 or so, we could actually see about adapting it to like a TypeScript friendly version.
Yeah, totally. Let's do that. So I'm letting it kind of, it's still taking its time here. There we go. CD fasting app. And then I'm going to yarn add Urkel and GraphQL. So we'll bring those in. And I am too far down so people can't see what I'm typing. Okay. We'll open up VS Code. And this is a situation where I could send over a live share if you want, or I can just drive if you want.
You can just drive. I'm thinking it's probably the faster approach here.
Cool. All right, so we have a couple of screens. I'm going to actually start here just so that we can pull open the simulator. Doesn't always work from here, but Metro Bundler loading up in this sort of like custom thing for Expo. I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to go here and press I, and that almost always works. Okay. Now we wait. Okay.
Expo is just so stinking magical.
it really is cool. It's really cool. So I'm just going to go back to the Visual Studio Code. So we have a few things here. We have a list screen that loads a bunch of stuff in. Oh, there's our iPhone. Let me resize this so that it's stream friendly. Okay. And we're getting some data, like right here and stuff like that. So we're not going to necessarily, let me think here. Yeah, let's just reuse this screen. So I'm going to probably remove a bunch of this stuff, and we're going to have to fetch stuff here. We'll pull this stuff in. Okay, so the current screen, if I go here and I go to the demo list, is it just shows a bunch of Rick and Morty characters here. So we're going to be changing this into showing, I guess, a list of fasts just to kind of see what's there. So, all right, let's see what we need to do next with Urkel. And if you know offhand, Jesse, like
I don't. I'm guessing it's a provider pattern, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. So we have to set up the client here, and I'm just going to assume we're going to do it all. Like, obviously, you would not just do this in the screen right here. You'd have some configuration stuff like that. But I'm just going to drop it in just for this. Okay. And then we have a URL to create the client. I assume we can pull that URL from somewhere in our.
Right. So I think we have something moccasin, if I remember right, for our API. If we scroll up a little bit in that window. Wealthy moccasin. And it has there it is. It's also available from the API Explorer too, but I think
it is okay. Cool.
Wasn't showing, but
yeah,
we will also need to provide the admin secret, unless we make the API be totally open for now, for selecting all the data. We could do that instead of you having to expose your API token. If you go to the permissions, because we'd have to pass in a header right now of the Hasura admin secret.
Yeah.
Tax the wealthy moccasins. Okay, that turned south quick.
Who said that? Oh, we can't. The wealthy moccasins. Yeah, Tim Eyman would be against that. React.
We are keeping it close to home today.
We are. Mazen says React Query is a great tool, by the way. Yeah.
That's great.
Cool.
If we go to the data tab.
Data schema here. And then probably, let's see here.
And if we go to the permissions for the fasting event.
Fasting event. Okay. Oh, yeah, true. And then here.
Under that permissions, you're going to turn on the column. You're going to create an anonymous role.
Anonymous.
And we're going to make that available for select statements and just turn it on. No limits on all the columns because it's open source fasting. But now that you're allowing insert at the moment.
We don't want insert. We want select. We only want to see. Yeah. Okay, that's important. We don't want insert because that would allow. So anybody can read this. That's fine. There's no problem.
Anybody can read. Yeah.
Yeah. We're basically
call this the accountability fasting. It's everybody can see what you're doing right now.
I was gonna make a joke about which one is it? Not Cash App. What's the other one? That Venmo, where everything is public by default.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, you can go see like who paid who, and even the note they sent along with it. I don't understand at all.
Wow.
But. Okay, anonymous.
I guess
it
just saves you time from posting it on Instagram. So it's just
exactly.
We could probably make the users also be open on select too, just so we have the no limits on our selecting.
Good call.
And
without any checks.
It'll probably get us once we get that put on the page. That'll probably get us far enough for today, and then we can show about how
exactly.
we would do the mutations and actually creating a login permission.
Yeah.
At another stream.
Okay, cool. I got that in there. So we have this create client. All right, and then let's jump over to.
And you turned on the select on user.
My bad. Where am I?
The data tab.
Yeah, I'm lost. Let me come back.
Intermittent fasting, man.
So I turned on
you're in the home stretch.
all select. Did we want the?
Well, you're on the fasting event table. So if we go to the user table. Now,
oh yeah, okay. So here we go to the permissions, right?
Yeah.
And then anonymous, without any checks.
Right.
And it's toggle all, save, and then also the user without any checks, toggle all, save. So now both of them should have full permission. They do. Okay, we got it.
Yeah. So the thing is that with what you can also do later on is you can also limit like the max number that an unauthenticated user could query for. So even if you have public data, you could say that they could like max query 10 at a time to help just save your database.
Yeah,
burning.
makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I should probably do that. But like, okay, so we have the client.
So we had the client. Yeah, do you have the provider already copied over?
Do not. I'll grab that. So we need to provide. So here's so this actually probably should go in our app JS or TSX here. Then let me go back. Save.
Top level.
Drop that. We got the client, and then grab our. I guess we're gonna grab that from Merkle. So
is that pretty standard for a React Native project to kind of have a top level app file? Is that kind of?
It's where it's definitely what we do, and I see it all the time outside of what we do.
Okay.
So
it's fairly conventional now.
It is, yeah. I mean, generally trying to stay with. So, why is it complaining about that? Provider.
And Expo really seems to be kind of taking over in terms of, like, even the React Native docs have Expo examples, right?
Yeah, totally. They're a big deal for sure, and there's a lot of. Sorry, 1 second. My daughter's here. My bad.
So instead of just leaving it to be dead air, I'll add a little bit of detail. But with that React client, that's a pretty common pattern for most GraphQL things as a top level provider wrapper, and then you're able to get that query that you can then deeply in any of your components and be able to fetch, referencing the top level client typically.
I'm back. Okay, and I don't know why is this thing complaining. I might have to. It's really strange. Just restart the packager, I guess. See what happens.
Is Urkel work with React Native? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. It's also just the live demo.
Curse of the live demo.
Curse.
So doesn't like the ES. Oh, I ran into this before, and okay, you're gonna laugh, but my like demo solution for this, because it basically, actually someone did tell me what how to fix this recently. Let me actually go. I think it's in my Twitter DMs because I ran into this on the last live stream actually as well. There's Danny, I think, that told me what to do here. Resolver. I have to go into the Metro Resolver config. Okay, this is very inside baseball stuff. So Metro config. We have this resolver here, right? And then, get rid of that. We're already in there. And we have the source extensions. And that needs to be default config dot resolver dot source extension. So we're spreading that in, whatever they have. We're adding CommonJS and MJS into the source extensions for Metro. So basically, so they can actually find things that are like this urkelcore.mjs. Otherwise, it's like urkelcore.mjs.js doesn't exist.
So this is the painful years of migrating to modules.
I'm just like,
I want to know which Java developer convinced JavaScript people to embrace modules just so that they could like get some people to come back.
Shoot. It's working. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that fixed it.
Sneaking in painful patterns.
We need to pull in this as a Ignite pull request. And so Danny, if you're listening, or anybody who wants to like contribute, just this line right here needs to be added to this Metro config. Mateo Harasnik says, I'm code genning a GraphQL API with GraphQL Code Gen as we speak. He says, awesome tool. Yeah, that's awesome.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
I'd love to at some point integrate this with Mobx State Tree too, but we're definitely not going there. All right, so now
there is a GraphQL GQLST plugin for Mobx State Tree. Yeah. I haven't tried it yet, but it looks pretty legit.
Are you talking about MST GQL?
Maybe.
MST GQL. So yeah, okay. We'll talk about that soon. Okay, so use query. I'm just gonna do it right here because I'm lazy. Grabbing that use query, and then we have our query, which we need to actually let's see here. So they're capitalizing that interestingly. Probably don't have to, but let's pull the query that we got from our query. Okay, whatever. In here, and then we're gonna grab that from, and just correct me if I'm doing something wrong, but so far I think I'm hopefully on the right.
Now, how are they looping over their query, the component, or what? So when they capitalized, I mean, that's usually a pretty strong convention when it comes to.
It's true.
When it comes to, so what are they doing with it after they take
They're passing it into query.
They're putting it. Interesting. Okay.
That feels a little weird to me, but it's like usually that's like you said, it's strong commit. Yeah. It's like that's a component or something, or an object.
Wonder if they are doing it sort of. Wonder what's happening under the hood, but we can try it. If it yells at us, we know how to fix it.
Exactly. Yeah. So
you can call it fast query or our query. Yeah, fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we have we have this, and we're pulling in use query, and we're passing in the query. So So why is? Hold on a second here. Yeah. Oh, okay, never mind. I was looking at it's just dropped down here. This is part of this. It's confusing why this is tabbed in twice. I know why, but it's just a little bit weird. Oh, but yeah, we have this use effect, which we're going to replace with this here, I guess. Sorry, what were you saying?
Nope, it's good.
So our query, we get the result. And then I'm going to actually open up Reactotron, which you may or may not have seen before. And I'm going to...
I have not.
Console.tron.
I have. Man, has it been a while.
Result, and I'm going to do log important so we can see it there, and then I need to probably have.
So this seems like a really good React Native hack for being able to get access to console without trying to look at
Reactotron's awesome for this stuff. Yep. By the way, we got a user, and we got his name is Jamin, and he has 2 fasts. And there we go. Nice.
We got data.
And let's go ahead and just grab that and pull that in. So const, let's see here. We have data user. So I'm just going to go data user equals result here. And so now we should have user, and user should have, I think, fasts. It does. And they're basically the shape we would expect here. So if I go to the flat list and we're looking at the data here, I'm going to say user.fasts. We're pulling those in. Key extractor, we're going to have the ID. It's already a string, but whatever, we'll leave that. And then the view is going to be the item dot start time, maybe. start time and end time. So undefined is not an object. Let's see. Result.data.user. I think I did something wrong, actually.
User hrasnik is extolling the benefits of the typings.
Ahmed says, came to say hi. Yeah, so that's Mateo, and he says MST GQL with GraphQL, CodeGen plus React Query, you can have all of that typed. Yeah, which is, we're seeing the reason for that. Is it user? How come I'm not seeing it right now? Let me refresh.
So show me the delay is kind of throwing me. So
yeah,
where are you currently at?
So where I'm at right now is I tried to extract some stuff here. I'm actually going to.
So you got user off of the data, and then are you getting user? Like if you log that, do you actually see the user object, or what are you seeing right now?
Let me go back and go to a state where it's actually working, and then show you. We have data and we have user, and yeah, I'm sorry I'm going so fast. So
that's fine. Yeah, it's good. So yeah, data user. Okay.
And then let's tron it.
I think I know what the issue might be. Is are you because your user is an array coming back?
It is.
Yeah, according to the Tron thing.
You're right.
That makes sense, right? Because we're not doing a user by primary key. We're just grabbing user.
Correct. So we're going to want the first user here.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say const user equals result.data.user0. And then we will, obviously that's brittle, but we'll refresh and what?
It's a live stream. What do people want?
Exactly. Result.data.user. Not an object?
Can you just log result.data there again? So we can...
Good call.
Or result.data.user actually would probably be the...
That would be nice.
You're not trying to read the... the user somewhere, right? So what do we get with the Tron thing?
So I'm just doing.
So user, yeah.
I'm just doing result.data there. So now user is
an array
there. So I should, if I pull result.data.user and do the same thing again, we should see it's an array and it has one thing. So now if I go user 0, that's what I had. And we're getting it. I don't know. What did I do wrong? I did something wrong there, but yeah, well, like when I refresh, undefined is not an object value. Oh,
I think you're trying to read it somewhere.
It's because use query sometimes is like when it's reading, it's not gonna. I'm doing this wrong. So if result dot data or dot what fetching. I'll have to.
Oh yeah.
It's
trying
if fetching,
to read the result before
it's done. Yeah.
If
fetching. Okay, so if it's fetching, so
then, you need to grab off of the result. You need to grab the fetching property.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then we'll just return null.
But you're not grabbing fetching yet, right? You need to grab that off of the. Is it off of use query?
It should just be result.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also works.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you could. Yeah. So now that worked. Okay, so now we can just, and in fact, now we have fast as well. So we can do, man, I should not be going so fast, but I'm just like blasting through this. And we have data. So it's showing up. We can see the start time. We can see the end time. And the second one has a start time and does not have an end time. So we have pixels on the screen. Yay. Woohoo.
So everybody came today, watched two senior developers create two tables and put it into React. So but we learned about fasting, we learned about we learned about remote work, we learned about Tim Eyman, we learned about Hasura and basically how the
Yeah.
data model that you choose at the beginning,
Yeah.
like iterating on that was
Right.
super fast inside of Hasura, and iterating on it inside of React Native is super fast, but you need to have the data model set up
Yeah.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
You need to know, and that was part of this
Totally.
chat, was kind of talking through how do you think through this process. But once you have that, it's just exactly how you're able to then work. It's really impressive. And,
I'm 100% in agreement. There was actually a lot of value there. Even us just kind of like looking through the permissions to kind of see how you would structure that. Obviously, the relationships between the tables and just kind of like, using Urkel for this. We can obviously, go deeper into this. We can eventually then come back and try some other clients to see how they look. I think that GraphQL with a backend of any sort, whether it's Hasura or something else, is a big topic that I'd like to explore a lot more. And then Hasura, and then just like let's build this app out over the course of some time, and just kind of keep working at it and getting a little further along.
Yeah.
You were great, Jesse. I really appreciate having you on and
it was fun. Yeah.
Working.
I'd love to have you on the Hasura show, the Data and API show. We can kind of build out the rest of the API there.
Yeah.
And kind of talk through some of the Hasura things, and then come back and show how it connects. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be very cool. I'd definitely be up for that. Let's definitely connect after the stream here on this. Thanks so much, man. I know it's late there, and sorry I was late this morning. All good. Little snafu that was entirely my fault. But really appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to doing some more stuff with you.
A lot of fun.
Thanks everybody in the chat. I'm going to shut down the stream now. And of course, we'll see you on Friday as well. By the way, let me catch up really quickly with the last bit here. Mateo says, try Directus on one of these streams. Justin says, hey, it's encouraging to the rest of us that everything isn't always perfect. You're definitely going to find that on our stream here. Junior devs think seniors just do things without errors. However, seniors just don't mind making mistakes. That's very profound. I like that. And thanks for the help there, Efstathios. And Derek says, awesome stream. Jesse and Jamin. Gant says, awesome. Audio